All right, so these were the answers to our warm-ups. Does anybody have any other questions about them? Okay. All right, this is the first page of your homework, so take a look, see if you have any questions. You only had to do through 24 because 25 was that weird-looking problem.
Oh, wow, this was weird. I understand.
This was the page 319.
Very quick checker.
Yes, this was the easier page. Yes, it was.
I like this page better.
Huh?
I like this page better.
It was quick, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You were probably like done in less than 2 minutes.
Quick and to the point.
Okay, all right, maybe
Maybe like 15.
Okay, yeah.
I would say 3 to 5,
Yes, Bethany.
depending on the person.
So is that like, you said like you were probably done in less than 2 minutes. Is that how fast the test, is that what this, okay, the factoring test?
This page should have been really easy when the
Yes,
when the
it
leading
was.
coefficients are 1.
Yeah.
When the leading coefficients are not 1, they can be trickier and they can take you a little longer to figure out. I understand that.
Right, okay. So,
Only like 5 tests.
What's the test going to be over?
oh,
Factoring. It'll have all the kinds we've studied. GCF, perfect square trinomial, difference of squares, reverse FOIL, and
Will it tell us which one's which, or will it have to?
no, you'll have to look at, they'll be all mixed up and you'll have to figure it out.
Oh,
Not good.
And how long do we have?
I adore you guys.
3 minutes.
And I'm going to do my part to have you to be on the academic edge. You're going to be right up there at the top. Huh?
We have 3 minutes.
It's not like I'm going to put a timer on, except when I do that test that you have a certain amount of time.
Wait,
Except for that one.
wait, are you,
we're gonna take.
you're talking about the
I'm
one
talking
that we
about
have
the one
to
you
get
have to
right
make 100 on.
eventually? That's your time?
Yeah, that one.
It will be time.
And you can't show any work.
How many questions is it?
What do you mean?
You just have to write your answer.
Kyle.
You get points off if
Okay.
you show work.
Now, yes. Yes.
How do you do
you will.
without showing work?
Okay, this is the second page in your workbook that you had to do. And what I did, guys, was I circled the problems that were easy. I circled all the problems that may have taken you a second to think about, but shouldn't have taken that long. And the ones that were a little harder would be like number 4. It's a little harder. Because if we look, we have more factor pairs. And 5 would have been a little harder. And 8 would have been a little harder. And 4 would have been a little bit harder. But the rest of them weren't that difficult.
Oh, those are difference of squares.
Yeah, we can sneak those back in, can't we? Yes, sir.
Would it be correct to write 13 as 3x plus 2 squared?
Number 13. Yes, that is the way I would like you to write 13. Good catch. And then this would be 6h minus 1 squared. Thank you.
That's how you prefer for us to write that?
I like you to be as efficient as possible. And if you could just put a little 2 instead of having to write that out again. I will not count it wrong if you write it this way, though. That is not wrong. So the method we learned yesterday was trial and error, or you make, the book I think refers to it as guess and check. And that's basically what we were doing. We were guessing which factor pair we thought might work, and then plugging in and checking to see if it did. Yes, ma'am.
For number 11, I had 9h minus 1, 3h minus 1.
But the 9 times the 3 does not give you the 36.
No, it wasn't.
Okay? It it will work for everything else. So. All right, any other questions? Okay. All right, so today we're not adding anything new except for a negative. So what do we do? How do we factor if the leading coefficient is negative? Oh. No, it's actually not hard. This is not hard.
Just put one of those lines by the negative one.
We're just going to factor out the -1 first. Yeah, that's all we're going to do.
Oh.
Okay, so if the leading coefficient is negative, the easiest way to deal with that would just be to factor that negative out to start with. Alright, so I'm going to give you a second if you would like to take notes to get that copied down, and then we'll start working on this problem. No.
Are you okay?
Eventually I am.
I don't think it's well. I think no, you should grade mine, and if I do well, then you can grade the rest. But if I don't,
Just trash them all.
admit it. Yeah.
I think I did pretty good.
I haven't graded anyone's from this class.
How they looked in the
Get the
other
big
class.
L for being the loser teacher.
Oh, wait, the graded new one's what?
Quiz in this class yet.
No, don't.
You should just give us
I'm
all-
hoping that I get to do that during my planning period today.
I'll try that.
Have you graded other classes?
I have almost finished first periods.
Did they do well?
Some did really well, and then some did stinky. So there's a range.
Was it like the smart kids do well, and then like the not as
That's
smart?
usually how it
They're all
works.
smart kids.
So it's
I have quite a few A's, and they're not, you know.
so some of the stinky kids like they're getting
Like the kids who smell bad, or like?
I'll get them graded, and then you won't have to worry anymore. All right, so we're going to factor out the -1.
I like myself too.
Okay, so when I factor in 1 out of polynomial, all it's going to do is change all the signs. That's all it does when you factor out the -1. And really, when you factor out the -1, do you even have to write -1? No, you can just put a negative out in front. And then we're going to factor the trinomial now. And this factors easily. How does it factor, guys?
-2.
-2, g minus 2, and g minus 1. Good. That's all there is to it.
That's not too bad.
No. Is everybody done with that one? Before I roll? Okay.
This will be. I'm starting to see a pattern where the middle one's always going to be negative a lot, and so the two, like once you get it down to the binomial, they're negative. Like they have negative signs. Like you had g minus 2, g
If
minus
the middle
1.
term is negative, there has to be some negatives down here. There's either 1 or 2.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so we're going to factor out the negative, and it gives us 9n squared minus 18n plus 8. All right, so this one has a leading coefficient that's a perfect square, but the constant is not a perfect square, so we can't try the perfect square trinomial thing on this one. So let's just do our trial and error. Yes,
Alright,
ma'am?
this is probably really stupid. But if you've already factored the negative out into them, like if you've already distributed it, then why do you still have the negative in front of it?
It's still there. It's just out in front so that it doesn't confuse us when we try to factor what's left.
Alright.
I didn't know.
You don't have to factor it out, but then one of your binomials will have a negative leading coefficient, and that's a little more confusing.
Alright.
All right, so if we look at 9, what are our factor pairs for 9? 3 and 3 and 1 and 9. Which one would you all like to start with?
3
and 3.
usually.
Now, I may have to erase that if it doesn't work. So now let's go with 8. What are our factor pairs for 8? 4 and 2 and and 1 and 8. All right, and then let's look at our signs. We're multiplying it and it's positive, but we're adding it and it's negative, so Drew is right. They both have to be negative. What do you think? How you want to go about it?
The 4 should be on the left and 6 should be
The
Or
4,
they could be on either side.
on. Oh yeah, there's
and it doesn't matter, does it? That gives me negative 6, and negative 12 does make a negative 18, and I'm done. Nice choosing, guys.
Yeah, guys.
Okay. You making fun of me?
No, I literally just said yeah,
you
guys.
were.
And they started laughing. I don't know.
All right. Number 3, negative y to the 9th plus y to the 7th. Okay, first of all, it has a GCF, doesn't it?
Yes.
What is it?
Y to the 7th.
Y to the 7th. And so let's not kill 2 birds with 1 stone here, and we'll pull out a negative y to the 7th. So we're going to get rid of our our negative and our common factor all at the same time. So that leaves me y squared minus 1, because I factored out a negative y squared, y to the 7th. And so, does this factor anymore?
No.
Yes, it does. It's a difference of squares. So it factors to what?
Y minus 1, y plus 1.
Great. Okay, you try. Number 4.
Oh, honey.
That's a big number.
Well, it does for a minute. It has bigger numbers for a minute. You can take care of that.
Negative 4.
Can you chew a little? Unless you want 5x on one side and x on the other side. Oh, then you have to do this thing.
Boom.
I like learning all these separate things. And now we're like putting them together.
The school, did you know there's Wi-Fi in here that isn't in the schools? That anyone can join and it doesn't have anything blocked.
Is it like a hot, like someone's,
Does somebody have it on?
No, oh, I just like clicked Wi-Fi and it's just some random Wi-Fi.
is it my fight?
It's set up, whatever that is.
Oh yeah. It could be like
And it doesn't
regular.
That's a trainer.
Does it work?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
beautifully.
It does.
And now we're all going to it.
I want to do it.
You find setup.
I found setup.
Well, I found it.
Is it your
And devices.
All right. Okay, guys, let's go back to this. So that is an interesting discovery. Okay, did you factor out a negative 4x to the 7th?
Yes. Yeah.
Why did I do 7 again? That's weird. All right, so we have a 5x squared, and then a plus a 6x, and then a minus 8. Okay? Did you get that? All right. So, did you get 5x minus 4 times x plus 2, and we cannot forget the greatest common factor that we have to start with. So, this is the completely factored form of my original polynomial. Alright. Are you okay with the negative?
Yes.
That's the only thing new. Now I'm going to show you another way to factor. Okay?
Wait.
And this other way has several different names. Some people call it term splitting. Some people call it factoring by grouping. I personally refer to it as the long way.
So we probably won't even be using this way.
So do we have to learn this way?
You don't have to.
You get to. Can we just like shut down and
You
start
never.
working
I will
more?
never make you use this way, ever. I will never force you to do it this way.
Then why are we?
I'm just going to show it to you.
Some people.
Okay? Because people
Negative
learn
eight,
differently.
negative 30.
People learn differently. So
Are we allowed to like not pay attention so that we don't get confused?
you can zone out if you're happy.
Okay, I'm happy.
All right.
I'll just be happy. No, I'm not. Because I like complained yesterday, but now I understand it.
All right. You do have to be quiet though. You can when I said zone out, you can be. All right. So here's the process for term splitting, aka grouping. All right. So here we have a trinomial, and this is the only time I would even consider using it, is when your leading coefficient and your constant have multiple factors. If one of these is prime, you should never use this way because it is the long way. Okay? So here we go. These are our two, and the first step is to multiply the two of these, and then you get 24x squared. And what you ask yourself is, what do I multiply to get 24x squared that I add to get a net negative 11x?
Wait, what do you ask?
What do you multiply to get this that you add? Yeah, negative 8x and negative 3x. We'll multiply to give us this, but add to give us that. And what we do is we split that middle term into those two things.
Oh, and then we just pick the height.
I like that one.
Okay?
No, it's wrong.
Then we have to think of it as factoring by grouping.
Oh, we're not done.
If we look, no, we're not done. If we look at the first two terms, what is the greatest common factor in the first two terms? 4x. And we can factor that out. And if we factor that out, what are we left with? X minus 2. To factor by grouping, this group over here must have the exact same factor. So when I look at the second group here, I need to be left with an x minus 2 when I factor something out. What would I have to factor out of here?
3.
Negative 3.
Oh,
Okay, do you see I have a product minus a product? Is there a common factor in this term and this term? Yes, it's an x minus 2, isn't it? And if I factored out the x minus 2, what am I left with?
4x minus 3.
4x minus 3. So this factors to this.
Okay.
With a bigger number always go before the real number?
That is a good question, and it does not. Okay. Grace just asked, would it make a difference if I did the negative 3x here and the negative 8x there? No, it wouldn't, and I'll prove it. If I did the negative 3x here and the negative 8x here, will it factor to the same thing? Well, this will still have an x in common, and it leaves me 4x minus 3. So here I want 4x minus 3, so I would factor out a negative 2, and then I take the 4x minus 3 out that they have in common, and that would group the x minus 2. Did I get the same thing? Yes. So it doesn't matter how I split that middle term. Now, all the other rules are still in effect. So on this problem, do you see there's a GCF? You still want to take care of that first. It still has to come out. So isn't there a 4 and an x that they have in common? Okay. So if I take that out, then I'm left with 6x squared plus 13x plus 6. All right, so this is one that I could do the long way because this is not prime and this is not prime. So I could do it the long way. So I would multiply this and get 36x squared. What can I multiply to get a positive 36x squared that I can add to get a 13x? 9 and 4, 9x and 4x. And it doesn't matter the order that I put them in. Now, I can't forget about this 4x that's out in front. It's got to be down here for my answer. I can't forget about it. It's still there. It doesn't disappear. But now I have to deal with this. What's the GCF of those first two? 3x. What does it leave me with? 2x plus 3. So I've got to have a 2x plus 3 here. So what factors out of the second group? A positive 2. These two are in common. Group what's left. Okay, this is the last one I'm going to do with you. You got to factor out the negative first. Yes, and then you try. That's fine. I think yeah, we'll make it a you try.
You want to use mine right now?
I'd love to, guys. Thank you. Actually, she handed me. Thank you, Josh. Yep.
There's no GCF other than the negative 1.
Huh?
3.
3 doesn't divide into 11.
3x times 1 is 3. 3x times 2 is 6. That's together.
Why is what's going on with the 3? Should you not be a 9?
This is too long.
Really got the
I don't even know how to do the long.
Well, you're just too smart. Sorry.
I said I'd go.
You did that.
Yep. I'm on 28.
No, you factor in negative first, don't you? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The homework is out of your textbook. It's on page 476. It's numbers 25 through 51 and 55 through 63, and you have the remaining class time to work.
Sweet.
So that's, what, 20 minutes? Almost 20 minutes.
GCF, difference of squares, perfect square trinomials, and the long way.